So, guys, it looks like the war is intensifying between the ANC and their alliance partner, the SACP. This comes after the General Secretary of the SACP, Mapaila, went to different media platforms to accuse the ANC of taking a sellout position by agreeing to get into governance with the Democratic Alliance. Guys, this is a video that actually started everything. But to be fair, this was not the first time Mapaila made these utterances. The first time Mapaila did an interview and actually accused the ANC of taking a sellout position by agreeing to get into governance with the DA. The ANC didn't say much after that interview, but this interview that was conducted recently by Sizwe Mpofu Walsh is the one that actually prompted the ANC to come out and respond to Mapaila. So guys, you know how I like to do it. I like the timeline of events. So I'm going to play you this video, and after here, I'm going to show you what Mbalula said about the utterances of Mapaila.
I must say firstly that I'm very stressed by this situation. It's given me sleepless nights. I'm writing a lot about this moment, and I think every time I reflect on this, I get deeply disappointed. First, by the political choice that the ANC made. It's a gross error, serious mistake. And I believe it's a political choice. Because there were other possibilities for the ANC not to collaborate with the DA. Because the DA doesn't represent any iota of the interests of the majority of our people. It's a party of white interest, of the white minority. It has inherited the colonial regime's interest, the imperialist regime's interest, the apartheid regime's interest. It is not intended by any measure to bring our country together and to build a united South Africa. It just wants the black person to remain subservient to the white person. This is the deepest pain one feels every day, because our leaders, the political elite, committed this criminality of joining forces with the DA. It's a political choice. I think they will be judged harshly by history, and I call on history to judge them badly for the betrayal of our people. This is a betrayal, Sizwe. It cannot be entertained in any political decorations. It cannot be laced in any other form. It's a sellout of the people's aspiration for political convenience.
So I remember a couple of days ago, I actually did a reaction to what Mapaila has actually said. And every time I watch that video where Mapaila pretends to be heartbroken about the decision that the ANC has actually taken, I cannot say it enough that it is interesting to see Mapaila getting heartbroken by the fact that the ANC has decided to get into the governance with the Democratic Alliance. But Mapaila actually never said anything. When the ANC was busy destroying this country, Mapaila never said a word about his friends in the SACP when they were embroiled in corruption scandals, and these corruption scandals directly impacted black people's lives. So he says nothing about all of those things. But now that the ANC has decided to get into the governance with the DA, Mapaila now has a voice, and he's telling the people of how heartbroken it is. Me personally, guys, I think that it is just a hypocrisy, and like many people are saying that if Mapaila was given a ministerial position or a deputy ministerial position, chances are we wouldn't see Mapaila out in the public saying all of these things that he's saying. But many people actually believe that Mapaila is saying all of these things because he was quote unquote excluded from the government of national unity. But if you look at the SACP as a whole, some people within the SACP are serving in cabinet. People like Bladin Zimande, who is the chair of SACP, he is the minister of technology. You look at other members of the SACP, they are deputy ministers, and so on and so on. So people said, Thomas, Solly Mapaila is saying all of these things simply because he's being excluded in the government of national unity. If the ANC gives him a position, we are telling you now that Solly Mapaila is going to sing the praises. So I feel like it's been disingenuous, man, because you know one thing that I hate about these politicians is that every time when they benefit, they forget about the people. They forget about the people. He never called out the ANC. When the people of this country were crying for service delivery, when the people of this country were crying for the ANC to actually do something about the criminality that is taking place in the country, when people were actually begging different ANC presidents to be tough on corruption, these people never actually said nothing. But today, because the ANC has taken the position to get into governance with other political party, and the ANC is not like it woke up one morning and decided to get into governance with other political parties. It is the voice of South Africans. This is South Africans telling the ANC via their votes that we no longer want you to govern the country alone anymore. We want you to get into governance with other political parties. So it's quite strange to see people like Solly Mapaila wanting to pretend like the voice of South Africans actually do not count. The ANC has lost the elections, but Solly Mapaila wants the ANC to pretend like they have won the elections and continue to govern the country as if nothing has changed. But truth of the matter is that everything has changed. The ANC is no longer the political party that is the largest political party in the country right now. The ANC is a 40% political party, and for them to govern the country, they will always need other political parties to govern the country. But it is so strange because looking at Solly Mapaila, he wants the ANC to pretend like they have won the elections and continue to govern the country as if nothing has changed. But truth of the matter is that everything has changed. Everything has changed. So people are saying that, Thomas, no, man, do not stress yourself about Solly Mapaila. Solly Mapaila is saying all of these things simply because he was excluded from the government of national unity. So I don't know how true those allegations are, but this is what people are actually saying. So I am not bothered by Solly Mapaila saying that this is a betrayal of our people. It was not a betrayal of our people when Blade Nzimande and his friends were actually accused of siphoning the money off of the NSFAS, and black students in particular were sleeping in the toilets, they were sleeping under the bridges, they were sleeping in hallways, they could not access their funds, and the corruption that Blade Nzimande was embroiled in, it directly impacted black people's lives. But Solly Mapaila never had sleepless nights about that. He never had sleepless night about that. So I am not going to stress myself about what Solly Mapaila actually said. I'm not going to do that. So the Secretary General of the ANC, Mbalula, says, no, man, it is completely unacceptable what Solly Mapaila has said. And this is what Mbalula has actually said to respond to the dirty utterances of the Secretary General of the SACP, Solly Mapaila.
The ANC Secretary General Mbalula has described the comments that have been made by the SACP's leader Solly Mapaila as unfortunate and an insult. Now, the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party has called the ANC sellouts over their decision to work with the DA in the government of national unity. But Mbalula says all ANC alliance partners were informed of this decision to work with the DA in the government of national unity.
The Communist Party is a party that believes in political engagement, not in rhetoric, phrase-mongering.
No, they don't believe in in what you're saying. They don't. Because if the Communist Party believed in that, there is no way that the Secretary General of the party would go to different media platforms to attack the ANC, while he can actually access the likes of Mbalula and the president and the top brass of the ANC. This is not the way to actually speak with your alliance. So Mbalula, I don't want to lie, you are wrong. You are wrong, and you are giving them much credit.
Government of national unity.
The Communist Party is a party that believes in political engagement, not in rhetoric, phrase-mongering, and putting labels on issues. GNUs in their very nature and coalitions are constituted worldwide by not ideologically aligned political parties. Sometimes it is the far right and the center left that come together, or all round. So South Africa is not a unique position. And for saying that when you work in the GNU that is led by the ANC, we have sold out, he's got to look at the content, including the statement of intent and what we seek to do in that GNU, and then begin to say this is a sellout position. So what Comrade Soli is arguing, he knows that there is a platform to engage us, to talk to us, rather than defining the ANC as a big faction and that our president is simply a president who leads a faction of neoliberal people and all of that. I think that is an insult to an ally. It's a matter that if he believes in that as Soli or as a communist party, they can engage with the ANC. So we are not going to engage in talking past each other. We've got an Alliance Political Council coming. We'll engage there.
But it's clear as day that Mapaila is not interested to actually have conversations with the ANC in a proper manner. It looks like Mapaila has actually made his decision that no, he is going to attack the ANC and he's going to label them as sellouts. But this is what Mapaila has decided to do. This is what he has decided to do. And I like what the ANC Youth League president Colin Malachi actually said about the SACP, but we will get to that after this interview by Mbalula. So Mapaila got to actually respond to the utterances of Mbalula, and this is what he actually said, and he's still reiterating his point.
Comments by the SG of the ANC responding to what I've just said are not at the level that we are supposed to be engaged in a sense that I have characterized this in a political language, and I will respect that if you respond back, it should be in the same. The point is nothing.
So you want to accuse the ANC, and at the same time, you want to dictate how the ANC should respond to you. I mean, it feels like Mapaila is just a narcissist who just wants attention, all attention to himself. Now he's not happy with how the ANC has actually responded to him. So he thinks it's okay for him to go to different media platforms to attack the alliance partner. And when the alliance partner goes on television and to actually push back on everything that he has said, he comes out and says that, no, this is not the way that the ANC should have responded to me. So you want to dictate how you attack people, and you also want to dictate how people should actually respond to your attacks. It feels like this is a narcissist behavior. It is a narcissist behavior of someone who actually believes that everything is about himself. He believes that he should dictate how these conversations should actually continue to go forward. This is what he believes. He believes that the Mbalula, pushing back on what he said, Mbalula did not have the right to say all of those things, or in a manner in which Mbalula said all of those things. So he wants to dictate how he attacks, and he also wants to dictate how people should respond to his attacks.
We are supposed to be engaged in a sense that I have characterized this in a political language, and I will respect that if you respond back, it should be in the same. The point is nothing is untruthful about what I said. And he makes wrong assumptions and even conclusions. Firstly, on the concept of consultations, we were not consulted. And I think it's right, he says we're informed. So if we were informed, it's an ANC decision, it's not a collective decision. We rejected that position from the beginning. We had our own proposition to this, which there was no sufficient discussions in the framework of the alliance to engage this. Only the secretariat of the alliance, and even in that secretariat of the alliance, together with COSATU, we did not agree to this notion of government of national unity.
But at the end of the day, the ANC is the one that actually contested the elections, so they reserve the right to actually make the final decisions. Despite the fact that you as SACP, maybe, and COSATU did not agree with the ANC going into coalition with political parties like the DA, maybe this is something that you people actually didn't want or in favor of. But at the end of the day, the ANC is a political party that contested in the elections, and it was given a mandate by the people of this country. So they are the ones who actually reserve the right to make the final decision. So it is strange that you guys didn't want the ANC to get into this to form a government of national unity with the DA. And you wanted the ANC to actually adopt your position, despite the fact that you guys did not contest the elections. You were not given the mandate by anyone to actually direct the future or to direct where the country is going. You were not mandated by anyone. So the ANC reserves the right to make the final decisions, despite what you people are feeling, despite the fact that maybe you guys were not in favor of the decision that the ANC was about to make. But at the end of the day, the ANC reserves that right to make the decisions. They reserve the right to make the decisions, despite you maybe being against that decision. They reserve the right to make that decision. So now you're making it look like the ANC are nothing but bunch of sellouts because they didn't listen to us, because we were not in favor of the position that the ANC was about to take. And because we were not in favor of the position that the ANC was about to take, the ANC is nothing but a sell-out political party, because they did not listen to an organization that did not contest the elections. Does it make any sense? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You can tell the ANC that you don't like the position that they are taking, fine. But at the end of the day, you must respect the fact that the ANC is the one that is going to make the final decision. And you need to respect the ANC's decision that they made to get into the government of national unity. You need to respect that decision. You need to respect that decision and not feeling like you are being insulted simply because your proposition was not taken. You were not insulted. You were not insulted. And I think this is the reason why many people are saying that maybe it's time for the SACP to start contesting the elections by themselves. Maybe it's time for you, Mapaila, maybe you can be the leader of the SACP. Go out and tell South Africans about your ideas. Let's see how many people are actually going to vote for you. Let's see how many people are actually going to vote for you, because you cannot dictate terms to a political party that actually contested the elections. You cannot dictate the terms. You cannot. You can hate the decisions that they are making, but you cannot dictate where or how the ANC should actually conduct their business. You were not happy about that. I mean, this is the same thing that the ANC Youth League president, Colin Malachi, actually said. And I still believe that Colin Malachi is just being used by the ANC top brass to say the things that they don't want to say themselves, man. You see, when President Ramaphosa and Mbalula, when they have something to say and they know that, okay, this might actually cost us politically, they call Colin Malachi and say, Colin Malachi, go on stage and say these things. I believe, this is what I believe. When it comes to Colin Malachi, I believe that Colin Malachi is just a hired gun of the ANC to say the things that the members of the ANC in the mother body do not want to say themselves. But Colin Malachi came out and says that if the SACP feels like this relationship is starting to get shaky, maybe they need to contest the elections by themselves. Because the ANC cannot stand to be insulted by the SACP over the decisions that they are making themselves.
If the Communist Party feels that they've got enough structures on the ground, they can assist us to bring back the 60% that we have lost. It was 40%. Let it be. It will be good assistance on our side. It will assist us, but they must urgently withdraw all their employees, because you can't say why a GNU of sellouts when your national chair is there within the GNU of Government of National Unity. Now, it lacks a bit of constantly. But the Mapaila, we know that is a product of the Youth League and COSAS and many other structures of the movement. He's very brave. We know that he will, it's either he will agree with the ANC on how the GNU work, or he will immediately withdraw those that are from the party who are in the GNU, so that we are seeing action. Then later on, he must set up structures to contest elections on his own and stop being under the state of the African National Congress.
Guys, so do you think that the SACP will ever get to a point where they contest the elections by themselves? Because this is something that many people have actually been asking the SACP, that are you guys actually afraid to contest the elections on your own? Are you afraid to contest the elections? And the SACP, apparently, they say that we are not afraid to contest the elections. We believe that our ideas are actually attractive, and many people will actually vote for us if we were to go out and contest the elections by ourselves. This is what the SACP believes. So do you guys believe that the SACP, it has balls of steel to go out and contest the elections by themselves? I don't believe that the SACP will ever contest the elections by themselves. I believe that the SACP is like, I don't want to phrase it this way, but you know, when someone is in an abusive relationship and instead of going out, they still believe that things are going to change, and this person that is abusing me, one day they are going to change. I believe that the SACP will always be an alliance of the ANC. The SACP will always be an alliance of the ANC. Always. Nothing is going to change. Even on 2026, you're going to see now, 2026 local government elections, the SACP will be out in public telling South Africans to vote for the ANC. They will be out to tell the ANC to vote for, they will be out to tell the people to vote for the ANC, despite how they feel about the ANC. Despite how they feel about the ANC. And to be fair, this is not the first time that the SACP has actually came out and not be happy about what the ANC has done. But all over, when the elections are here, the SACP, it is the first alliance partner to go out and tell South Africans to vote for the ANC. So I don't think that the SACP is ever going to campaign by themselves. I think it's not, like, they are too comfortable being under the ANC. They are too comfortable with the ANC doing all the work. So they will not go out and form their structures and actually campaign. They will not do that. They are not going to do that. Not now, not anytime soon.
Of course, the alliance was consulted, we can't deny that. But the fact of the matter is, as things stand, everybody who's deployed there, at the apex of those guidelines is that you must be a member of the ANC. There are communists who, some of them may not necessarily affiliate to the African Congress. Such communists would not be able to get deployed to parliament on the basis that such...
Oh, anyway, this interview is started. I want to start it from the beginning.
Watching News at Prime, and if you're just joining us, we are discussing the war of words that does not seem to be dying down between the ANC and its alliance partners. Listening in on the previous conversation is Young Communist League's first Deputy National Secretary, Tsietsi Letsibe, who joins us via the virtual platform. Mr. Letsibe, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. We don't have much of that time, so I'm going to go straight into the issues. Why should ANC leaders continue to stomach what they say are insults from the leadership of the SACP, while the very same leaders, or at least some of them, are serving in this GNU that is labeled a sellout by your leader?
No, thank you so much, and good evening to yourself and the viewers, Mr. Trolli. Well, the Young Communist League firstly wants to deposit the point that says that no leader of the Communist Party is in parliament. All leaders who are in parliament, as things stand, are comrades who are deployed through the ANC. Everybody who's there has been selected through the process of the African National Congress and not the process of the South African Communist Party. And therefore, nobody represents the Communist Party except the leader of the party himself, the General Secretary of the party, who has clearly outlined what is the party position on this matter of the GNU.
I don't think that the viewers watching this...
I mean, like, this guy is just like, he's a young communist. He's a young communist. I'm not surprised. But it looks like this person actually believes that South Africans are stupid. He honestly believes that all of us are stupid. We are stupid, guys. We are stupid. All of us. We are dummies. This is what he believes.
We'll take that as a fact. Not so long ago, the General Secretary of the SACP was Blade Nzimande, right now he wears the hat of chairperson of the SACP. So there is an example of a leader of the SACP who was general secretary but also serving in government as a cabinet minister. I'm not so sure your argument holds water. If anything, people might say you are insulting their intelligence.
Of course he is. Of course he is. How can this guy go on television and say that no one in government actually represents the SACP? How can he go on television and say that no one in government represents the SACP?
Well, let me explain this. I thought I would explain this a bit deeper so that you get the sense of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the African National Congress has developed what we call a candidate selection guidelines, which is basically a guideline that leads to people being deployed into parliament. Now, the African National Congress is the body that has developed those guidelines. Of course, the alliance was consulted, we can't deny that. But the fact of the matter is, as things stand, everybody was deployed there at the apex of those guidelines.
And guys, are you aware that the messaging is not consistent? Because Mapaila says that the ANC never consulted them about the decision to get into the GNU. And now you listen to this young guy who belongs to the Young Communist Leagues. He says that we were consulted. So even themselves, the message is not consistent. So which is which? It's either the SACP was informed about the decision that the ANC has taken, or it's either the SACP was actually consulted about this decision that the ANC was about to take. Which is which? It can be that the Secretary General of the party says that we were not consulted. We were actually informed that this is the decision that the ANC is going to take. But right now, you listen to this guy. He says that we were consulted. So which is which?
The matter is, as things stand, everybody was deployed there at the apex of those guidelines that you must be a member of the ANC. There are communists who some of them may not necessarily affiliate to the African National Congress. Such communists would not be able to get deployed to parliament on the basis that such guidelines are emphatic and are very clear on who needs to be deployed and what people needs to be deployed in parliament. And therefore, the former leader of the SCP, like you are saying, the former General Secretary of the Communist Party, who is currently the national chair of the Communist Party, is deployed as a member of the ANC in his own right. There's a clause in the Communist Party constitution that stipulates this so that we avoid this kind of contradictions wherein we are subjected to views of other organizations inside the party. So I still maintain my point in saying that anybody who's deployed to parliament is deployed by the ANC. There's no Communist Party that has delegated anyone to parliament.
Well, I guess in that sense then, you are forcing the inevitable question that has been there for the longest of time. In fact, at one point, the SACP did attempt to go it alone. I think it was in a by-election in the Free State. Why is the SACP not willing to move outside of the ANC nest and contest elections on its own, if indeed you are going to call its positions sellout positions, when it is actually saying this is a tactical move on our part to maintain the stability of the country?
Well, let's put this point across. Let's start here first. The Communist Party does not fear to go outside the nest of the ANC.
Lying. If the Communist Party was not scared to actually go out and do their own thing, they would have done that a long time ago. The Communist Party is going nowhere. And I don't know why is this guy lying on television saying that they are not scared to go out and do their own thing. Of course they are. Of course they are scared. Even right now, as we speak, the SACP is saying all of these things about the ANC, but they are not saying anything about contesting the elections by themselves. They are just bashing the ANC about getting into governance with the DA. They are just bashing the ANC. But they are saying nothing about actually starting their own thing and campaigning for themselves. They are saying nothing about that. They are saying nothing about that. So why should we believe that the SACP is not scared? Because they should have been clear that, guys, now that the ANC has decided to take this sellout position to get into governance with the DA, we as the SACP, we are not going to support the ANC going forward. This was going to make the SACP look strong. If the SACP was actually serious, they would have told the South Africans that we are not happy about the decision of the ANC. And because we are not happy about the decision of the ANC, we are not going to support the ANC going forward. This is not what the SACP is saying. This is not what the SACP is saying. The SACP is just bashing the ANC. But when it comes to supporting the ANC, when time comes, the SACP will be out telling South Africans to vote for the ANC. This is what they have done over the years. This is what they have done over the years. So why are they not saying anything about no longer supporting the ANC? If this is how they feel, if this is how strongly they feel about the ANC and the decisions that the ANC has taken, why don't they go out and say that we are no longer going to support the ANC going forward? They don't say that. They don't say that. They are just happy to say that the ANC is a sellout position, took a sellout position. They are just happy to say that. But when it comes to actually when it comes to actually talking about what the SACP is going to do, no. We don't want to have the conversation about what the party is going to do. We're just happy to talk about the ANC and the government of national unity.
But equally, let's not create an impression that to contest elections by the Communist Party translates into the Communist Party contesting the ANC. The elections are not solely a responsibility or are not something that is owned by the ANC. The elections are a terrain that is contested. Therefore, we want to also re-emphasize our point in arguing that when the Communist Party articulates a position that says the decision that is taken by the ANC, tactically, as they may view it to be right, at that last level, we view it to be something that appears to be a sellout position. It doesn't mean that we are speaking against the ANC or we speak against what we have always stood for. The fact of the matter is, there is what we call the National Democratic Revolution, which is a collective alliance program, and it needs to be defended. And we believe that forming an alliance with a neoliberal party, such as the BA, will not help solve the crisis of our country. Neither will it be able to advance the National Democratic Revolution and what it stands for.
But the ANC has already formed governance with the DA. So what is the SACP going to do? What are you going to do about the fact that the ANC has already formed a governance with the DA? What are you going to do?
As the alliance and the people's program that has liberated these people beyond even 1994, it has always been a joint alliance program that seeks to liberate the people of this country. And with the DA that stands opposed to such ideals of what National Democratic Revolution stands for, we believe that can't solve the problems that we are faced with as a country. And we believe that the ANC had an option or a choice for it to work with other organizations besides the Democratic Alliance, which does not even admit the crisis of what we have inherited from the colonial and apartheid era. It does not admit such. So how do you then expect a transformation to be driven if that's the case?
All right.
With such an organization of such a character.
Let me ask you this final question then, because where things are right now is that there's a stark reality, and that is that the ANC-led alliance is simply dysfunctional, if you like. So, should the SACP remain in this alliance? Do you want for the SACP to remain in this alliance that is clearly dysfunctional? Because you've also been talking about an alliance reconfiguration. That hasn't happened. So,
man, the SACP loves their abusive relationship. They are going nowhere. They love their abusive relationship. They are going nowhere.
Is this alliance serving the interests of parties such as the SACP?
There are a number of things that you can observe. Firstly, to judge the alliance, you can't judge it only merely on based on 2024 election outcomes, that would be narrow. You would appreciate the electronic that there's been some advances and some gains that have been achieved since 1994 to date. There are progressive labor laws which represent some of the class advances that we stand for as the party. Now, if we're to look into those, but also looking at the current conjuncture, we would agree that there are things that have happened after 1994, the political breakthrough to date. But there are things also, again, that seeks to undermine and reverse such gains. And the party, it taking a stance to say that we oppose the current tactical decision.
So, guys, in a nutshell, the SACP will not be leaving their abusive relationship. Like I said, guys, these people are not serious about actually affirming their position. They are not serious about that. They are not. They are not, because it was a fair question by Xolim Gambi that are you guys still gonna stay in this alliance that you and now he's talking about the gains that were made. So it's clear that they are not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere. They are simply going to complain about what the ANC does, but when it comes to actually making the decisions and leaving the ANC to go out and do their own things, this is not something that the SACP wants to do. This is not something that the SACP wants to do. So, fine.
That has been taken by the ANC, or tactical resolve that has been resolved on by the ANC. Simply, it's a method of us trying to say that we are not pleased with the manner in which things are unfolding. This tantamounts to a class suicide. It tantamounts to what will reverse the gains. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with the party standing for its position. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate it's unfortunate that and appalling that the Youth League would respond by creating an impression that by them threatening to take away positions of those who are in government is something that can be able to threaten us or instill fear in party comrades. The fact of the matter is, if, let's assume that rightly so they do that, the question would be, what would they have achieved? The fact of the matter is that things are not going well in the alliance, and the decision by the ANC for it to form a tactical alliance with the DA undermines everything that the National Democratic Revolution stands for.
All right.
And in this case, okay.
No, conclude your point. I'm out of time.
Yeah. And I was saying, in this case, the point that we're trying to raise here is that the DA stands as a counter-revolutionary force.
Of course, you've said that before. You've said that before before the ANC gets into coalition with the DA, and you are saying it after the ANC has gotten into coalition with the DA. I mean, like, I guess even Xoli right now, he can see that, like, there's no need for this interview. There's no need for this interview because SACP is not serious about doing anything about this position that the ANC has taken. It can be that on one side you say that this is tantamount to suicide, but at the same time, no, we are not going to leave the ANC, despite the ANC being in governance with a political party that is going to reverse all the gains that we have made. If the gains are so important, why are you not leaving the ANC? Because the ANC is in governance with a political party that is going to reverse all the gains. So there is no use for this interview. It is a useless interview. It is a useless interview. There is no point in speaking with these people. There is no point in speaking with these people. There is no point. There is no point. You're going to tell us what you've been telling us about the DA all along. We know how you feel about the DA. This is like if the EFF tells us about what they feel about the DA, we know what the EFF feels about the DA. And at least on this position, we can say that the EFF decided not to get into the GNU because they believe so much in their position that, okay, maybe we can lose being in governance with the ANC simply because the ANC got into coalition with the DA. Okay, I can respect the EFF for that because the EFF has done something about what they feel. But when it comes to you, you are not doing anything about what you feel. You are just happy to be there with the ANC. At the same time, you are not happy about the decisions that the ANC has made. I mean, like, you can hear in Xoli's, like, the sound coming from Xoli that, like, he can realize that this is it's a useless interview. It's a useless interview. There is nothing that we can gain for this interview. There's nothing.
Even than EFF, the MK, and all those reactionary forces.
Okay.
Alternatively, the ANC would have opted for something, but the DA stands opposed to that. Before 1994, after 1994, the DA has just reformed itself to become an even more strong neoliberal opponent force of the National Democratic Revolution. It can't be convenient that today we want to then mask them under an auspices that they are a progressive party. They are not the progressive party. The DA has never been a progressive party.
The DA never said they're a progressive party. So why are you making it sound like the DA is pretending to be a progressive party? They never said we are a progressive party. They never said anything about anything progressive. They never said that. They never said that. So what is the point, guys? I'm honestly trying to understand what is the point of this interview. What is the point of this interview? And what is the point that, I guess it goes back to the initial video that we did about Mapaila, that what is it exactly are you trying to achieve? Because we know that you are not going to leave this relationship, this abusive relationship with the ANC. We know that for a fact that you are not going to leave the abusive relationship. So what is the point? Why are you all over the place telling us how bad the ANC is or how bad the decision that the ANC has made? What are you trying to achieve? Because it's not like you're going to drop the ANC and actually call for the SACP to get the hell out of this alliance with the ANC. So what is the point? What is the point? They are just wasting everybody's time. They are just wasting everybody's time. Guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Guys, please hit that like button, man.